So my name is Rylee Haught. I am from West Virginia, and I have been politically organizing to pass the Freedom to Vote Act since about March of this year. So the group I'm with, we're called Unpack, and we started in March. We actually ran the largest canvassing operation in West Virginia history. We've knocked on, or not hundreds, I think we're like 75,000 doors across West Virginia, thousands of calls to Senator Manchin and Senator Capito in support of the For the People Act and now the Freedom to Vote Act. So we did everything that it should take to pass legislation. Seeing like the unprecedented activism across the country for this bill made it very clear to us that simply making calls and sending emails is not going to be enough to get it across the finish line. So we decided to escalate because really this bill should have been passed by the end of 2021, and it wasn't. So I did a 15-day hunger strike alongside about 20 other young people from across the country. And it started in Arizona, and we were there for, I believe, 5 days because our goal was to meet with Senator Sinema, and she met with us on day 4. The meeting went as expected. She reiterated her support for the Freedom to Vote Act and also her support for the filibuster. So we knew we got the meeting, but she's not going to change her mind from us. So we decided to take it to DC and plead that Biden do more to pressure Senator Sinema to go along with the rules change if that's what it takes to pass this bill.
Well, you can, be so proud of yourself. I'm so proud of you. I don't even know how I found you. Coincidentally, someone that I interviewed for this podcast, like way in the beginning, said that he was just in DC and met with these kids that were on that hunger strike. And coincidentally, I believe, here we are.
Wow, that's crazy. Do you remember who it was?
Huh?
Do you remember who that was?
Yes, his name is Richard Green. He's a lawyer. He's like a political influencer lawyer, like crazed about the horror of where we are, like all of us. But yeah, he's a good guy. But I don't know. I just am so proud of you. So look, here's the thing. I believe Gen Z, which I would imagine that's your lane, right?
No, I feel like I'm in the cusp, like between Gen Z and millennial. I'm 22, so I guess I'm more Gen Z.
Oh, you're Z, honey. Z.
Okay.
And I have full faith in your generation, and the 2022 election it's going to be up to you guys to pull this over. It really is, because we need huge margin. I'm not confident that they're going to pass that bill. People in my age group, we're going to vote. We got nothing fucking else to do. You know what I mean? But so are you living in West Virginia now, or are you in school somewhere, or?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in West Virginia. I grew up in Parkersburg. So I got a very close-hand view of how bad the opioid crisis is here in our state. And basically decided I wanted to do sign language for school. So I went to Pierpont, which is part of Fairmont State University. And that's also in West Virginia. And then the program just wasn't that great. So I wanted to go to Kent State and finish my sign language degree, but that didn't really work out financially. So there are a lot of like scholarships in West Virginia that kind of keep us in state, and it's really hard to get out, and I'm one of those statistics and ended up going to West Virginia University, and I changed my major to psychology, and I'm minoring in addiction studies. So that's a big reason that I decided to, I guess, change from the path of doing like one-on-one therapy and trying to help people individually to realizing this is a much bigger scale issue, and I would rather focus on macro level social work, and like policy and organizing like I've been doing. So that's, yeah, a little bit about my background.
Good for you. As someone who's survived an opiate addiction, I think, yeah, then to know that there's like programs for study, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a really new minor, and I mean, it looks good, but the truth of the matter is, I would say most people who finish their degree in psych are probably not staying here because the lack of mental health resources and job protections. I mean, our state legislature literally passed a bill this past year, where like basically outlawing harm reduction programs. So now a lot of our HIV, like clean needle exchange programs here in West Virginia are running underground and saving people's lives underground, because if they're caught, they could potentially be prosecuted and sent to jail. And so, yeah, I'm just very passionate about here in West Virginia changing our local politics and also helping change the narrative nationwide, because the truth is there are a lot of people who deeply care about their community here. We're like the state with the, I think it's like the #1 state for most people that talk to their neighbors, which I think is an interesting thing to bring up when I talk about West Virginia, because the way that the nationwide media portrays us as like this rundown, poor, uneducated state has a lot of truth to it, but it's more harmful than it is good for West Virginians. So, yeah, that's, I
Sounds
think,
like West Virginia, it sounds like West Virginia needs you. So you have to sit put and be part of the change. And would you consider running for any kind of political position? I mean, very
I
well
would
spoken.
consider, thank you. I just feel like I'm very young into this now, but yeah, I kind of want to just help out with other campaigns. There's a group, West Virginia Can't Wait, that I am very interested in being a part of, that basically is a grassroots organization of people who are trying to get more people here to run for office and pledge to not take corporate money and to never cross a picket line, because we need to change the good old boys club here in West Virginia if we're going to see nationwide change coming from our Senate or, you know, our House of Representatives. Like, we have to start local.
So who's running in 22? Is there any election that you're already seeing? Is there any senators that are up for re-election in 22 in West Virginia?
I believe not.
And what about governor? Is that also nothing?
That's a good question. I feel like I should definitely know this, but I've just been
now
so.
You have plenty of time to find out. November is months away.
Yeah, I've been straight like Freedom to Vote Act for months now. So, but I know,
good thing.
I know with our census data coming in, we're actually losing a seat in the House of Representatives. So we're going from 3 representatives to 2. And that has redistricted the entire state and is definitely going to change the state of play here in West Virginia for a very long time. And yeah, so there is, I believe, like 2 seats that are kind of competing against each other to like see who stays, I guess. I think it's between McKinley and is Mooney.
This isn't a pop quiz. Don't worry. I love the fact that you're focused on voting rights, because if you've looked at any of my posts in the past, whatever, it's like, I don't even want to hear about Build Back Better. I think the only thing we need to talk about is voting rights, period. And that needs to be the only topic of conversation from every Democrat. And if you veer off into some other conversation about, look, I of course care about women's rights and children's getting the tax credit. I mean, all that, of course, we're Democrats. We care about everything. But without voting rights, we got nothing. We have no self-respect. We got nothing. So I agree with you, and I support you staying right on that track. until something happens.
Yeah, that was a big goal of our organization was one, obviously like outreach to our senators and getting the message across that West Virginians do overwhelmingly support democratic reforms like what's in the Freedom to Vote Act. And yeah, I think it's not even really a partisan issue. And I know it looks that way now just because of like our current state of like how far right and far left everybody is completely divided. But when it comes down to it, like I've knocked on hundreds, no, I would say I've knocked on thousands of doors across West Virginia. I've talked to people of all backgrounds, and everybody agrees we need to get dark money out of politics and we need to protect our voting system. And people have different ways of going about that. But I think I will give props to Senator Manchin for coming up with a compromise for the People Act and making sure that it's a nonpartisan approach. And I guess I just wish that I would see him and Senator Sinema care more about bipartisanship from their constituents than bipartisanship within the Senate, because they aren't accurately reflecting the needs of their constituents. So obviously it's going to look much worse in Washington and make us look bad. But I mean, when it comes down to how many people support it, it's literally a no-brainer. Like everybody thinks we should make Election Day a federal holiday, provide additional funding for our auditing system, and have paper ballot trail with every electronic vote, like 15 days of early voting. It also includes an expanded list of voter ID options for the states that have voter ID. So it's like, it's very obviously a nonpartisan approach, but like we need to protect our election systems in partisan gerrymandering and expose dark money right now. We should have done it yesterday and the day before that. But
I think that should have been the first thing. I think it should have been voting rights before they gave anybody a nickel when Joe first got in. I think it should have been done January or February, the latest of 21. I mean, nothing else matters. I mean, we are going, especially because we are so fractured, like you say, but it's not only just that we're fractured. I mean, there is violence heading our way, you know? And if we don't have like, if certain laws related to, I mean, imagine the turmoil that's going to happen around the election. There's nothing else to discuss. I mean, I frankly, today was thinking, you know, the Democrats need to realize that we have to arm up and just be ready come election day, because I think there's going to be a lot of bullshit happening, especially in these red states with these Trump lunatics that are digging their heels into this whole Trump won thing. I was just listening to a podcast today. Like, it's weird. And I was listening, it was actually on NPR. They were talking to someone who's like assessing like all the people who were arrested on January 6th and the mindset, and talking to them, and it's just, these people just, they don't know from the truth. You know, they don't want to know from the truth. And that's just going to manifest in a really ugly way. And you know, I'm not a gun owner, and I don't even think I'd be a good candidate for that, you know, because I'd be like, oh, gun. But even where I live in LA, there's like violence, you know, there's weird shit happening everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, definitely scary. And I think Larry Lessig said it best. He's a Harvard professor that has been working on voting rights for so long and getting money out of politics. And he came down and joined us, just wanted to come visit, but then decided these kids are awesome. So he stuck around and hunger striked with us, which was just really awesome. And yeah, he was telling us about the history and how we've gotten to this point. And he basically said, you know, we know that there's been violence from the right who don't trust our election system, but we know that a majority of Americans don't trust our voting system. So what's the left gonna do in response? Like, this is just a recipe for violence on either side because everyone's freaking out, and like something needs to change right
Well,
now.
it has to at least be paper ballots everywhere. I really think that that's one thing you can't argue with paper ballots. I mean, at least if you have even that many more people counting and watching, and but the, who trusts machines? You know what I mean? Like, I don't trust. I don't know. I think it has to. I think we need to have paper ballots no matter what.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's a big part of this bill is ensuring that our electronic voting machines are created here in the US and they all have the same like standard for, when we need repairs or we need new ones, like it doesn't completely vary from state to state. We're all operating under the same machinery, so we know that that's at least fair and that it's not being tampered with by buying voting machines from other countries. And also, make sure that there's a paper ballot trail with every electronic ballot, and provides additional funding for poll workers training and recruitment. I think everybody can agree, like, those are some of the huge issues that we've seen in the last, I don't even know how many elections, but
Right.
it's hard to trust it when we are completely gridlocked and unable to pass bills to make sure that our voting machines and systems are up to date and treated fairly nationwide for federal elections. Like, seems
Right.
like a no-brainer to me. So the Hunger Strike for Democracy, it's kind of a branch off of Unpack, a bunch of organizers who have been organizing with Unpack since the beginning of this year. But we also had other people come and join us that are young people from across the country who just believe in this issue and getting dark money out and protecting our right to vote.
Do you feel like you got enough attention for the hunger strike? Because I found out about it only from that guy I was interviewing, but I didn't see it in the media. So did you have somebody handling reaching out for that?
Yeah, we had a really awesome media team, and my job was on the floor when we started this because we were so well prepared and thought out. So we were aired on every single news station in Phoenix, Arizona on our first day of our hunger strike. We were published in The Guardian, The Hill, The Independent, I think like 3 times. We got to have an interview, maybe 3 interviews on MSNBC,
Oh,
with Joy Reid and Al Sharpton. We had like celebrities posting about us that my jaw was also on the floor. Demi Lovato, Leonardo DiCaprio, Mark Ruffalo, Idina Menzel, Kerry Washington. Like there were more, but yeah, I mean, it's been a whirlwind. It still doesn't feel completely real to me at all.
good for you. So is there going to be any kind of other activation around when I think today they decided they're going up for a vote, whether to put it on the floor. I just read an article that Chuck Schumer said that I think on January 17th, they're putting it up to the floor, whether they can debate it or not. Like, are you guys going to reconvene at any point there?
Yeah, so our demands were to pass it by the end of the year. Obviously, that didn't happen. So we ended our hunger strike because they went on recess, and we got a meeting with Sinema and with the Biden administration. So we met with the Biden administration last week. They reassured us that they're doing a lot to help pass it ASAP. So we're holding them to their word, and our demand is that they pass it by MLK Day. So if they're just bringing it up for debate on January 17th, that is not good enough for us, because we haven't had time to wait. I know a lot of different organizations have been saying, including the King family, has said we don't want people celebrating MLK Day if voting rights haven't been passed. So I would expect escalation on January 17th. If not from us, I'm sure other organizations that have been working on this for a really long time. We're not really sure what that looks like just yet, but it is in the works if they don't pass it. Like, right now.
As I started this conversation, I will end with
Thank
the same bowing to you.
you.
All right. Well, listen, Happy New Year and be well, stay healthy. And I look forward to keeping you in my, every day. I can't wait to see what you do next. You're somebody special.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too.